Hey, what's going on, everybody? It is Aaron Trevino here, and we have another wonderful guest. We have Diego from beautiful Houston, Texas. How you doing today?
I'm doing well, Aaron. Yeah, beautiful Texas for today. It's a little hot as usual, but definitely it's normal Houston weather.
That it is. That it is. Now, I love Houston. I always have a good time when I go there. A lot of hospitality, some good friends there, and a lot is changing in the real estate market there. So it's great to connect with you.
Absolutely looking forward to this.
Definitely, Diego. So for those of us who aren't too familiar with you, would you introduce yourself, please?
Sure. My name is Diego Melo. I'm the owner of a company called Strativentures. Strativentures was founded in May of 2012, where I used to be an asset manager. And so I come with a financial perspective and what I would call a microscope into the technical side of investing, which is what everybody sees, Aaron, is getting your hands dirty in the rehabbing, that technical aspect. So I told my wife that I was going to get into that aspect of the industry. And Aaron, she completely laughed at me because she said, well, Diego, you don't even cut the grass at home. What are you doing remodeling houses? And I said, okay, I totally get you. So I did the only thing most people did around that time, where you had all of these educational flipping this, flipping that shows and all that. And I went and got educated and paid a good amount of money to get my education. That first year, I identified that all that education is like drinking from a fire hose. And so there was a lot of learning curves that occurred. And so my first year was a loss. It was almost a six-figure loss. And then that's when I completely stopped my engine in my business and said, I got to reformat this thing to where I start to address the risk in it. And so I was the highest risk because I didn't have that experience prior. So why am I taking on these hats? That's when my company developed itself in the mindset, the mentality, and the implementation that we have right now, which is about mitigating that risk and plugging investors in to the aspect of working with a solid, credible team. Fast forward now into 2021, offices in Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, over 1,600 members. COVID threw us into the national platform. We've got members in about 19, 20 states now and growing. And then we now take on national affiliate partners. And the co-housing realm that we're focusing on right now is one of the biggest things because of affordable housing shortages. And a lot of these project hats are based off of those types of endeavors. So we are a full implementation team that harbors people from lots of real estate education companies and actually puts them to work.
Right. No, absolutely. I'm always so fascinated by these stories. I mean, you mentioned how, your wife kind of laughed and said, hey, Diego, who do you think you are? You don't even cut the grass, right?
Yeah.
So it's funny hearing that. And then, it also hurts to kind of hear, a six-figure loss. And I'm curious as well, on a personal level, at that time, you take the six-figure loss, you could have easily given up and said, hey, this isn't for me. I'm going to go do something else. What made you push forward?
Number one, the fact that I had identified where my mistakes were. And that's one thing that most people in this business, Aaron, they don't survive their first loss because everything is being portrayed into this is that you can take on real estate with no money. You have the drive, but nobody addresses the actual risk, the financial, the personal, the mental, and most of all, I believe the strongest factor of failure in this business, and you touched it a little bit there, is people quit. And people quit for the fact of they start to get desperate in an industry that's saturated because they don't see any positive coming from that. It's because they're wearing too many hats. So we develop an investor here to wear one hat, and that hat is of the investor. And I'm gonna, if possible, I'm going to give you the definition of what we call an investor here at SVI. So when we ask a person, what does an investor do? We get many different types of answers, right? I buy properties, I work with contractors, I want to redevelop my neighborhood, things like that. An investor analyzes, acts, invests, and makes profit with one word in mind. What word do you think that is, Aaron?
I'm stumped.
The word is risk.
Risk.
It's all based on risk. And when we go into transactions on an emotional state, our risk is at a heightened level. Analyzing is active market, comparable and market data. Acting, repairs, validations, and mechanical, electrical, plumbing, trade, and values. Investing is who's going to lend to you if you're doing your own comps and you've never done that. You're doing your repairs, who's never done that. Now you're only going to seek high investment type risk money. There's no profit. So we cater to each member, and we literally train their contractors, train their realtors. We provide private lending to all of our members, because at the end of the day, a person who has an IRA is not going to trust a newbie. They're going to trust somebody who has support. So we fund all of our members' transactions and basically give them that first start with mitigated risk.
Right, I really like that, and it's interesting how kind of this this platform, it kind of seems like the birth of that was through making those mistakes that first year, and it's neat how you're kind of able to bridge the gap so all parties can benefit from the transaction.
They shouldn't go through it. That's the thing. We try to be as real as possible, and everybody deserves an opportunity in this amazing business. It's just that most people don't use our resources, and we're the resources. And we welcome a lot of people to work with us just to get to find out if this is even for them. But I like to tell people it's like, we're like bowling with bumpers. You know, when you throw the bowling ball, it's going to bounce everywhere. You're going to hit something. We're the bumpers, and then eventually you're going to say, drop those bumpers, and you're off. And we love that.
Yeah, no, that's a great way to put it, right? I mean, you use the bowling analogy, right? You know, maybe you're kind of getting your throwing motion down, and then once you do it a few times, you take off the bumpers, and hey, you have a strike, right?
Oh yeah, yeah. And you got to practice you got to practice repeatedly, Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I'm curious, I know that you talked about a bit of the mistakes you made, you kind of bridging the gap with the new product and platform that you have. If you could, maybe offer any sort of advice to someone listening out there, maybe you're analyzing your first deal, you're learning about, running those comps, you're learning about how to vet these deals properly. What should people know going into it?
Sure, that's an amazing question. First and foremost, your identification of who you are, right? And earlier I stated you're an investor. That's it. Number two, you got to think about the arena that you're in. And everybody thinks we're in real estate. No, we're in the people business. And I always tell people, the better the deal, the better the source, the better the quality of your business. So first and foremost, you got to go find your key team players and vet them out. If you are going to go ask a realtor to work with you, a realtor that really want to work with you will work with you as much to build you a better client for themselves. A contractor, the same thing for themselves. And at the end of the day, that's the analyze and that's the act part of the definition. At the end of the day, you then need to know what your financial exit strategy of an investor is, and that's where we come into play. Understanding deals by having vetted transactions doesn't mean you have to hit home runs and thousands and $10,000s of rehabs. Steady growth, steady transactions, steady volume allows you to grow your capital base. So identify yourself, work with the right people by vetting them out. And last but not least, understand what your purpose is, which is to basically invest capital in low risk investments and not be greedy. At the end of the day, don't be greedy.
No, I mean, that's a great way to put it, right? Not being greedy, being able to put your investments in something that's obviously not too crazy, right? Something low risk, but that you can learn from and build on, building that capital and moving forward.
Yeah, most people, when they start investing in real estate, as another bit of advice, is that they have their own operating capital if they do, but they're still working 9-to-5 jobs. If you're able to buy yourself 100% the value of time, you can invest 100% in this business. I was very fortunate that I told my wife, I quit, had, 6-figure salary, had some reserves. That's why I was able to, absorb those punches, because I knew how to fix my own problems. Some people are 9-to-5, have their own investments, invest that money while they're in the 9 to 5 and now they're in a worse situation. If you have the ability to invest in yourself, you're going to have the ability of time, which means you can be working 24/7 to fix your machine. And I tell people, if you're not making offers every single day in this business, you're not practicing real estate. Because what's the worst they're going to tell you, right, Aaron?
Yeah.
No. Okay, fine. Let's move on to the next. Yeah.
Yep, that's right. I mean, you're right. I mean, you even just said it, the worst they can tell you is no, and you kind of have to, get those reps in like anything else.
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely.
No, yeah, definitely. And I'm curious as well, is I know that you're big on use the word co-housing. If you wouldn't mind, could you maybe describe what co-housing is and why it's important?
Sure. Co-housing is a model of living that has been around for years. If you've ever had roommates, you've had a guy on the couch, right? Now, what the space in which we're working in is that space of homelessness and a person that's getting a 1 bedroom, 1 bathroom, or efficiency in the rising rental rates that we're all seeing. That space is growing so much that a person who has a job between $15,000 to $25,000 a year is going to have to make a decision: is I pay my rent, but I can't put gas in my car or fill my refrigerator, right? So every single day, that space, because it's getting bigger, we're going to have more displacement of people living in their cars. I mean, we're seeing it. So we're starting to build units that are 7 bedrooms, 7 bath, and renting those out by the week, vetted out through our national partner called PadSplit, PADSPLIT.com. And we're helping them. They're a national company, and we're helping them here in Texas and also in partnerships with other states that we're working on to help a person have good living in a new unit, co-housing with other people, weekly payments, no monthly contracts, all bills paid, to help them get their feet wet, right? To help them have resources and roots. Where are we buying these properties? Obviously, it's not going to be in your more affluent areas, right? Because things are going to be cost prohibitive. But we're buying them in areas where we identify 4 key factors that area has been, I would say, undesirable or stale or not growing because of these 4 things. Number one, the marital rate compared to the single rate are more single people living there than married, right? Married, kids, expensive, taxes, retail, development, and growth. Single, more single than married. Number 2, the occupancy rate there is it more owner occupied area or is it more rental occupied area? Well, we want more rental occupied area. The other one is going to be the school climate, right? Is it on from 0 to 10, if it's a 4 or less, that area needs help. So we're helping communities rise. And last but not least, if it's a place where you do a comparable study and houses are selling in more than 180 days, that means nobody's going into that area to buy. So those are your 4 key triggers. And we all know we've driven by them, right? We've driven by them. We wouldn't stop. And so we're putting these units there. It's going to start growing appreciation. We've hit appraised values in the majorities of these areas. And last but not least, Aaron, co-housing is going to be big in opportunity zones. We're doing a lot of work in San Antonio opportunity zones, Houston opportunity zones, Dallas opportunity zones, because all opportunity zones want new construction, and new construction brings development, appraisals, appreciation, and value.
Yes, definitely, Diego. And thank you for that. That was a great run through of kind of a few little points that you're looking at, when you're analyzing these properties. And maybe for those of us who aren't too familiar, if you wouldn't mind, would you be able to describe, what an opportunity zone is and why it's important?
Right. The city's looking for redevelopment money. The city's looking for taxation growth, and the city's looking to put capital into the development of that area. Obviously, property taxes, retail, and basically activate. The majority of the activation in an area is based on retail. So mom and pop shops are there, but they're not growing because there's not enough circulation of capital. The economic snapshot of that pocket needs some help. Obviously, drivers as new home buyer incentives, land incentives, tax reinvestment, block grants are also big. And so if we come in with an actual concept, which obviously it's not a concept anymore because Pad Split, our national partner, has over 2,000 units around the country. They serve as the operating unit for the 7 people, 7 baths, which means at the end of the day, it's true passive investing for somebody like us or investors that want to know more about it. With that, if it's true passive investing, makes you want to go get more, right? Which makes you want to continue to help that area. The Pad Split has had some success stories, Aaron, that are amazing. And again, the mission of what we do is family. In Atlanta, where Pad Split is from, one of their tenants was homeless, moved into a Pad Split, was there for 2 years, was able to get stabilized, bought her first single family resident home for her to move in, and now bought her first Pad Split to be a host and a landlord. That's it. In the same community. That's awesome. So that's what we do.
Yeah, no, and I mean, you drew an interesting point there, just kind of bring it all full circle for us, from you vetting the deal, finding the property, having someone in there in that co-housing unit, to them eventually being able to, be able to come back and buy properties and give back to that community. I mean, that's the proof's in the pudding, right?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, real estate investing is for everybody. So the services that we offer for the co-housing are full turnkey. We've got investors from around the country. I did a webinar 2 Saturdays ago with Anderson Advisors, which is a national, real estate attorney, legal firm, and I've done multiples with them. And we literally had, I think, over 3,000, people on this thing. And we talked about co-housing, and now we have over 150 people that are coming into our company to now become the host, what we call the potential host. And we're delivering them land, construction, project management, plugging everything into co-housing, and they're a true passive income buyer. So all they got to bring is the ability to qualify for the construction loan, and then the ability to qualify for the long-term takeout loan. And the numbers are astronomical. I mean, it's a win-win for everybody. So.
Yeah, no, and I mean, that's a beautiful thing, being able to set up that win-win where, the way it sounds like all parties involved are benefiting from it, right? And then it's neat to kind of see, as we spoke about, it coming full circle, and, the people that you're putting in there are eventually able to purchase properties themselves.
Oh yeah, and the space for Pad Split is in that working class within that I'd say that space there. We've had people ask us about senior assisted living. Well, Pad Split that's not their niche. Military housing, that's not that. Sober housing, it's not that. This is for the working person getting their feet wet because of displacement, rising rents, and obviously a shortage of housing that we've got for affordable candidates.
Right, definitely. And it's interesting how kind of the birth of this concept is obviously unfortunate that for some that rents are increasing, or different market changes, economic changes, people's situations change, but it's neat to see this sort of solution come into the market.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm curious as well, maybe the word co-housing could be, a bit unfamiliar for people. It sounds foreign. It sounds strange. Maybe what are some of kind of the misconceptions that people could have about co-housing or living in this sort of unit?
Well, Pad Split as the operating partner who you plug your home into for the weekly rents, the same as you would plug your home into Airbnb. Their customer service has to be able to perform based on the guidelines. No couples, no kids, no pets, right?
Mm-hmm.
Co-ed is okay. And at the end of the day, it's working people working together. Did you know that there are no living rooms? Because they say bad things happen on couches. So let's not have couches on there. So there's a common kitchen, and literally it's people coexisting with the same where they're at that point in their life. Do you remember a long time ago, extended stay, business type hotels were popping up?
I remember that.
Yeah, they're no longer business type hotels anymore.
Mhm.
I stayed in one in where was that? I was in Phoenix a couple months ago. Yeah, no. There's other stuff going on now in those things, and so
Okay.
this is now more helping people uh, grow some roots.
Sure, definitely. And I couldn't help but smile because it took me back. I remember the commercials they had, and it looked, they made it look suave, like, hey, this is the place you stay,
Oh no, it's scary. And here's the thing: you know what the weekly rents are on our units that are new? The rents are going to range anywhere from 140 to 180 per week.
Mm.
So we're staying at about 30% below your standard one bedroom, one bath, B, C, or D rated apartment. Because and they're all bills paid. Everything is all bills paid, fully furnished. So this is awesome.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I remember you, I don't remember exactly which markets, but you mentioned how you're in Houston, San Antonio. What were the other markets that you're in?
Houston, right now where the co-housing units are in Houston, San Antonio, Dallas, Tampa, Orlando, Jacksonville, Indianapolis, Raleigh, not potentially here in the next beginning of 2022, Denver. Obviously I was in Denver a couple of weeks ago, and Denver is the funnel for the California exodus, and whoa, that Denver needs some help. And so this is a national issue. And well, since the operating platform for pad split means you can literally, Aaron, if you wanted to have housing, would go on there, book it. Pad split would vet out your caliber of, you have to have income, you got to have a certain level of credit. That we're not just, this is a working person. This is a candidate. If they're not in Detroit, Detroit doesn't work yet. Only where their marketing and that platform is moving so they can fulfill the opportunity of filling the places for you, because that's what they do. They put the heads in the beds, is what we say.
Heads in the beds, that's right. No, and I'm curious as well, you mentioned, you briefly talked about the California exodus. We know that's going on, people leaving certain states, maybe New York, California, Illinois, and Denver needs some work. Is that just in terms of, they have a housing shortage, or what's the issue with Denver?
Denver is a housing shortage, but Denver is the first largest economic viable city that people can move to. I mean, there's nothing at a larger level. I mean, you have Salt Lake City, you got all these, but nothing to the level of that size leaving California. Las Vegas is closer to California, but Las Vegas right now, it's still recouping. It's still suffering from what happened back in the 06, 07, 08.
Sure. No, it's interesting kind of seeing how there are lingering effects from those sort of things. And, geographically, or just in terms of travel costs or cost to move there, it would make more sense to move to Vegas. But, it seems like Denver is a more viable option for people.
Absolutely. The concept of room sharing and co-housing also is definitely of the mindset of the people in Denver. In Vegas, not so much. Not so much. Yeah.
Right, definitely. I could see how that's that I guess a bit market specific. You're maybe looking for people who are open to that sort of living. And it's interesting as well how everything that happened in 2020. We know it was a pretty jam-packed year in terms of a lot of changes. Still a lot of changes in 2021. But it's interesting. It almost kind of seems like the beginning of a new era. It's almost like America's reevaluating the American way of living.
You hit the nail on the head. I believe it was the best opportunity that people got to realize internally, financially, and also obviously, I'm not going to go into politics or anything, but into the level of saying we as a culture have to start working together. But I got to make sure that I'm okay with a Honda payment than a Lexus payment, right? I'm okay with paying down all my credit cards, knowing that I need more than 3-4 months reserves. And people are starting to come out from that mentality of disposable and spending, and they're becoming a little bit more prudent, and that's a good thing. I mean, I come from the financial backgrounds. Oh man, I was scared, and it's good to see a rebound.
Sure, definitely. And it's interesting to kind of even see the kind of consumer behavior, right? So maybe someone 20 years ago would have preferred, maybe a larger luxurious house, whereas, now maybe a young couple starting out, they're okay with the house that's a 3-bed, 2-bath, maybe 1,200 square feet.
Oh yeah, we're getting investors from California left and right saying, Diego, build us one of these. I don't want to go into the affordable housing space. I want to go into the young professional that will give amenities in the properties, build it for us. And we're talking the ones we're building right now, Aaron, 7-bedroom, 7-bath, are a full price point of around 250,000. That's the total project cost. We're working on one right now that is 8 bedrooms, that's 16, and that has about a $495,000 price point. Obviously has a home office, a media room, because there are young professionals that go, I don't want to live in an apartment. I'd rather do the co-housing. I'm here on a short-term contract, medical, transportation, residency, and they're going to pay $350 a week, and they're happy with that. Awesome, it's a different lifestyle. It's a different lifestyle.
Sure, no, exactly, and it's interesting how kind of these different solutions can kind of play out. Like, for example, I know I was chatting with a friend of mine. He has a few Airbnb rentals, and he had kind of shown me around, and he had mentioned how he would have people coming in maybe to visit their kids at the university, or maybe they were nurses. They were only there for a short period of time, so it's neat to kind of see that need being met.
It is. It's definitely needed. I know MD Anderson here in Houston, there's a place called the Rotary House where families go and stay. And it's expensive when somebody's having cancer treatment. And some of these families can't afford that. So, one of the things we're looking at is in the medical center, Old Spanish Trail area, setting up some of these for families. I know obviously there's going to be a certain design style. And to me, can you imagine families that are all living in the same for a week, the stories that they might have, you know what I mean? The reinforcement, I know you're going through that, so are we. Let me show you how we got through that. I mean, dinner tables, it's going to be awesome. People are going to be people again.
No, absolutely. And I mean, that's almost, again, kind of reevaluating that American way of living, where it's almost we're returning back to that communal support that people are really yearning for.
Yeah, we're getting torn apart.
Yeah, absolutely. No, definitely. I mean, that was an excellent explanation, a bit about what you do about co-housing. Diego, is there anything you haven't said that you'd really just like to hit home for people who are listening?
Sure. The core and basis of Strativentures and is working with a team that really wants to help you succeed, Aaron. So we invite every single person that is at a different level in real estate investing, whether you're thinking about it, whether you're in it, whether you're rethinking it, or I already know to everything, or what we call our social media butterflies. I learned that on a YouTube thing. I learned this on that. We want to talk to you. There's no commitments or anything. Just we want to know the fact that if we can help plant a seed to guide you in the right path, it's going to protect our industry. And I say this with the full utmost respect. Attorneys used to be respected. I don't want that to happen in our industry. Does that make sense? We want to protect the industry as a whole, because at the end of the day, it's the legacy we leave our families. And so we want to at least have a shot to help you.
That's right. Absolutely. It's and you touched on a great point there, talking about the legacy you leave behind, building something. And, like we spoke about, I mean, the proof is in the pudding, kind of you being able to provide a service that really, benefits all parties involved.
Yeah, we're at a national level. If it's okay with you, our landing page, feel free, you guys can go to our landing page at investorrealestatetraining.com, and you will find everything you need there. There's a section where you can click to reserve your one-on-ones. They're all completely free. We want to know more about you and you than you know about us. Because at the end of the day, we tell people it's when you need us, we're still going to be here.
No, absolutely. Thank you. We'll definitely put that in the show notes, that link so people can click on it. Maybe someone's in the Houston area, they're in San Antonio, they're interested in co-housing opportunity zones, or maybe they just want to connect with you and talk some real estate. Where can we find you, Diego?
You can email me directly, Diego@strativentures.com. Like you see right here, it says Strativentures. The strati part, Aaron, means stratification, which is different layers of foundational elevated growth, and then ventures, obviously partnerships. Diego@strativentures.com, or you can also info@strativentures.com, or if you just want to call me directly, 832-213-7155, or call the office 800-504-2909.
Absolutely. Yeah, we'll definitely make a note of that. Well, Diego, we've talked about a lot, covered a lot of ground, learned a little bit about you, a bit of advice for new investors, talked a bit about opportunity zones, co-housing, bridging the gap for that, much needed housing accommodation that people need. And I've learned a heck of a lot. So thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're very welcome. I appreciate the opportunity, Aaron. Thank you.
Talk to you later.